Hulk Hogan before. We played a brief clip. The question that I asked him was how he has been able to remain relatively healthy while guys like you, Mick Foley, have broken down. Here's what he had to say. Watch with us.
I would probably say I've trained more in the last week than Mick Foley's trained in 30 years. You know, I went ahead while Mick Foley was sleeping and eating cheeseburgers and M&Ms. I was in the gym working out. I work out 2 hours a day. I've been doing it for 30 years. It depends on where you want to be. The early bird ain't no worm.
Well, what do you say? Does that bug you?
Yeah. That bothers me more than I imagined it would. I had heard what he said, but I mean, the tone with which he said it is very, very painful. He's, arguably the biggest star that's ever been in our business. And to hear that come out of his mouth is about the most, damaging thing that I've heard. I thought, okay, let's think of the context it was said in. And I think at the time his book had just come out, had been out a few weeks, and it was not doing a whole lot of damage on the charts. I think at its peak, it hit number 13 on the Times list and stayed there for 2 weeks, whereas my book had hit number 1 and it stayed on the list for 26 weeks. I am hoping that he was taking out some of that frustration on me. I would like to think he thinks higher of me than that. In reality, I think, I think a guy has always been complimentary towards me in the past. I don't know him very well, but for him to say that he's trained more in a week than I have in 30 years is just an insulting, and it's a lie. And I think he's never wrestled with me. I think if you ask guys like The Rock, guys like Stone Cold, if I was in shape when I wrestled them, if you ask Shawn Michaels, was I in shape when I put in 27 minutes with him in 1996? I think they'd say I was in deceptively good shape. I'm not trying to excuse myself, because part of the reason I retired earlier than I should have is all the damage that the extra weight may have done to my knees and back, and that cost me. But for Hulk Hogan to say that, I think is a lie, and I think it's kind of cruel. And I think if Hulk Hogan were to have wrestled me in his career, that he would sound more or less like a whiny girl in a porno film saying, not so fast and not so hard, because he didn't like the contact. So the reason I'm out early and he's around there when he's 49 years old is because I put out and I gave people their money's worth. He did in a different way. He was a great entertainer. But at the same time, you didn't have to apologize to your friends for watching a Mick Foley match. And sometimes I know when I was on the Larry King show and they were watching Hulk in action, it was embarrassing for me to be considered to be in that same profession as he was, because his stuff was so obviously weak. So, and I'm taking that out. It's a little aggression that I wouldn't normally say, but yeah, that's pretty brutal stuff for a guy of his magnitude to come down on me in that way is pretty damaging.